Sannidhanam of Kanchi Kailasa Sarvingyapeetham, which is the Tonde Mandaladinam. Following that, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the incumbent emperor of Suryavamsha Surangi Samrajyam. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also been coronated as the 23rd Guru Mahasannidhanam of Dharma Mukti Swargoparamadina. In the year 2012, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was coronated as the 293rd present Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam of Kailas Sonatha Shyamala Pita Sarvingyapeetham. In the same year, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was also coronated as the Mahamandaleshwar, which is the supreme spiritual head of the Mahanirvani Akhada, which is the largest apex monastic order in Hinduism. In the following years, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was also coronated as the 1008th Acharya Mahamandaleshwar, which is the head of all spiritual leaders of the Atal Akhada, which is the ancient most apex body of Hinduism. And in the year 2015, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was elected as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by a congregation of over 1,000 Hindu leaders and pontiffs. The sovereign state of Sri Kailasa is a macrocosmic, ancient Hindu enlightened civilizational nation, whose vision is living enlightenment for all humanity. Kailasa's mission is to revive and share with today's world the practical applications of the greater sciences of authentic Hinduism, including Hindu cosmic physics, Hindu alchemy, Hindu cosmology, Hindu biology, Hindu mathematics, the power manifestation science, and other sciences as revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. These sciences were once practiced freely in over 56 nations across the continent, but are now facing extinction due to a millennium. We are now going to be seeing the various steps. The 108 Sri Kailasa's Uniting Nations initiatives are the 108 different initiatives taken up by the Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations, supporting a variety of humanitarian services which collectively allow for the creation of an enlightened, peaceful, sustainable, equitable, resilient, and thriving world. These projects include the No Hungry Home project, offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for nutritious food and a hunger-free world. Over the past 27 years, more than 1 billion meals have been served by Sri Kailasa. Every month for the past 27 years, the Hindu ASMT community has served more than 3 million annadans, which are the free organic meals as per the tradition, in religious gatherings to everyone without discrimination. 10,000 meals are served daily, free of cost, and up to 100,000 meals are served on festival days. And as you can see here in many of these photographs, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself is performing the Annadan for all the devotees and disciples gathered. Here we can see during the pandemic, Kailasa's protective and preventive COVID care center offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for affordable and holistic healthcare. Pandemic is an event, a worldwide event, which has affected the whole world in various different levels. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the only one thinking ahead and giving a place of refuge for the world during such a difficult time. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism converted his monastery campuses into a multi-layer quarantine facility, free for all people, regardless of any differences in age, gender, caste, creed, ethnicity, color, or socioeconomic status. Food, shelter, internet, and all the basic facilities, including free medical care, were provided for an indefinite period amount of time. More than 30 million citizens followed Kailasa's 28-day spiritual regime in the year 2020. Now we're going to be looking at the Nithyananda Hindu University and the Nithyananda Gurukul offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for education reform and development. The Nithyananda Hindu University is the largest Hindu university established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The Nithyananda Gurukul, which was inaugurated on the 2nd of October 2006 by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is for the revival of the ancient Adishaivite Guru-disciple education system, which is the authentic, knowledge transmission system based on enlightenment. Nithyananda Hindu University has more than 20 million enrollments and over 7,000 free courses, as well as extended campuses in more than 150 countries. Here we can see the Nithyananda Jnanalaya project and the Hinduismpedia project offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for the protection of Hindu scriptures. The Nithyananda Hindu Jnanalaya project was established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to collect and preserve the 1 billion Hindu scriptures while ensuring that knowledge is made accessible and shared free of cost to all, collecting and preserving 1 million source books on Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself has authored more than 10,000 books in 3 different languages, translated into 50 other different languages, and published 10,000 different articles, given more than 10,000 hours of free discourses with a combined view of more than 1 billion. In the Kailasa's Hinduismpedia project, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has collected more than 15 terabyte of digital books and rare manuscripts from all the 19 Sarvingapitams, ancient muds, and ashrams. More than 1 billion pages on Hinduism, collection of 22,000 digital books, 1,000 e-text books, and over 100,000 articles on various topics in Hindu. Here we can see the conferences for world peace offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for global peace and religious harmony. And in the year 2009, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism organized a month-long peace walk covering 1,000 kilometers and 1,000 villages to bring together in harmony from all walks of life to promote feeling connection and oneness among the people. During the walk, health camps were conducted in villages along its path. Here we have the women empowerment programs offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for feminine empowerment and gender equality. Kailasa's Yogini Sarvingapitam is the establishment of yoga and meditation universities to empower the quality of life and emphasis on life solutions through the Vedas and Agamas, empowering the indigenous rural women, fighting against wrongful gender stereotyping, gender-based violence, and lack of inclusive and quality learning environments. Some of the initiatives taken by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for Feminine Empowerment and Gender Equality are the Kailasa's Nithyananda Lakshmi Project, which is a microfinancing service, Kailasa's Women Foundation and Women Empowerment Self-Help Centers, which have been launched in 108 places around the world since its initiation in 2009. Kailasa's Ankita program, which is providing foundational literacy about working of basic community services and infrastructure establishments. Kailasa's Ashraya program, providing vocational training programs to rural and indigenous women to provide equal opportunities and access to independent, self-sufficient financial environments to them. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived the Vedic feminism in Kailasa, where 80% of leadership positions have been occupied by women. Here we can see the Nithyananda Yoga offered by Sri Kailasa Uniting Nations for yoga. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived 108 scientifically validated kriyas, specifically targeting the 108 major diseases and disorders, such as diabetes, arthritis, and blood pressure. The revival of the ancient traditional forms of yoga, where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived the ancient pole yoga, which is the Shivastambha yoga, and rope yoga, Kundalini Rajju yoga, in which yogic asanas, postures, and weight balancing techniques are performed to create the yogic physiology, aligning it to the cosmic geometry that manifests superconscious powers. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has also been awarded 2 Guinness World Records for the largest rope yoga and largest pole yoga classes, bringing worldwide attention to these extraordinary forms of yoga. These 2 Guinness World Records have been established on the 30th of September and the 3rd of October in the year 2017. Here we can see one of the most historical moments and milestones in the history of the building of Kailasa nation, where Kailasa, the first nation of Hindus led by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, spoke on behalf of 2 billion global Hindu diaspora at the 14th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues. A significant milestone in the history of Hindus and the sovereign state of Sri Kailasa happened on the 2nd of September, on the 2nd of December 2021. His Excellency Sri Nitya Moksha Priyananda, Ambassador Extraordinary and Philanthropy of Kailasa, representing the persecution of Hindus at the 14th session of the United Nations Forum on Minority Issues. The theme of the forum was conflict prevention and the protection of human rights of minorities. This was the first time the plight of persecuted Hindu minorities was represented in the United Nations. The systematic and generational attacks on Hindu indigenous traditions were highlighted in this meeting. Here we are seeing the various torture and murder attempts by the state and non-state actors on Hinduism and on the Nityananda Sangha on Kailasa. Over 70 assassination attempts have been made on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, all physical attacks in India and abroad. More than 40 attacks on community members, destruction of monasteries and temples. Over 60 incidents of attacks of molestation and rape of women and women monks. Intense lawfare through the 100 false legal cases being put on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, all but one have been dismissed. Intersectional persecution using the entire government mechanism, politically owned media, police and judiciary controlled by politicians, inciting mob violence through the social media. Here you can see the multiple various different ways the anti-Hindu and anti-spiritual elements have been trying to attack and assassinate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Throughout all this illegal persecution happening on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Swamiji was unwavering in his intention to revive Hinduism and give superconscious breakthrough to the entire world, through which the establishment of the Hindu nation of Kailasa has happened. So now, after a short break, we're going to be looking into the next segment of today's program, which is the power manifestation, understanding the science of power manifestation, the Shastra Pramana for the power manifestation science, how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving this power manifestation science, as well as the live demonstration of the various powers of power manifestation. We'll be back with you after a short break.
A more intelligently connected world leads to a brighter future. An enlightened humanity leads to a better world. During the Paramashivam trip, we help people to discover their superhuman possibilities and help them to find and achieve the true purpose of their birth by giving them the techniques, practices, and methodologies from the Vedagamas, the original source scriptures of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the ancient original Vedas and Agamas in all its glory, in a user-friendly way for the modern mind. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is transforming human beings into divine beings, reviving, initiating, and replicating the 463 powers from the Agamas revealed by Paramashivam. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not just giving solutions for every problem man faces, but is making them irrelevant to their lives by transforming human beings into divine beings.
Listen. Any argument presented by your mind, body, your present reality to establish you are not Paramashiva. You are not omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Anything presented to prove you are not Paramashiva is illegitimate. Decide this. This is super determinism. Understand? anything you declare as illegitimate will lose power over you, will die in few days, few minutes, maybe in few weeks, whatever few days it takes. It will not have power over you. Understand, this is the method for sudden enlightenment. This is the method for sudden enlightenment. It happens by the Shaktipada. Here Paramashiva is sitting to tell you all, you are
Nithyanandam, we welcome everyone to this beautiful and powerful session on the science of power manifestations. In this session, we are going to be having a beautiful explanation of what is the Shaktis, what are Shaktis, and how they are manifested, how they can benefit our life, and last but most important, we'll be having a live demonstration of the powers of Paramashiva. So now let us understand first what is the science of power manifestation. In the Vedagamas, the source scriptures of Hinduism, Paramashiva reveals in elaborate detail about the fact that every human being is hardwired to manifest the Shaktis of Paramashiva. Manifesting the powers of Paramashiva are described in a systematic method, and human beings to explore the various possibilities and powers that are there for that can be expressed by every human. Now we'll be seeing what is the difference between Shaktis and Siddhis, because this is a very common topic which everyone gets confused. Shaktis are expressed from the space of oneness, from the space of enlightenment as a side effect of feeling connection with the extraordinary divinity or the supreme Paramashiva. And whereas the Siddhis are powers that are manifested while you are on the path of enlightenment and you are doing tapas. Shaktis are of Paramashiva, and when Paramashiva manifests through an ordinary human, these are Shaktis. Whereas Siddhis are not permanent, and Shaktis manifest from the space of initiation. When the Guru directly initiates us into the Shaktis, we start manifesting powers, whereas the Siddhis manifest when we do tapas and distract us from the path of enlightenment. Now we are going to be seeing the main validation of how these powers have been scientifically tested and are foolproof. The powers are tested in 4 different ways. First, there is a Shastra Pramana, which is the scriptural reference of these powers. What Paramashiva has to say about these powers in the Vedas and the Agamas. Next, we have the Apta Pramana, which is the time-tested, foolproof experiences of our ancient scientists, the Rishis. All the enlightened masters and Rishis who have come before us and manifested these powers and shown them to the humanity, those are the Apta Pramanas. The Atma Pramanas are the validated and foolproof tested manifestations that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has experienced in his life. After verifying his experiences with the Shastra Pramana and the Atma Pramana, he shares it to the world as his Atma Pramana. Then we have the Pratyaksha Pramana, which is the scientific study, the empirical evidence of these powers. Now we're going to understand from where do these Shaktis come. the source of the Shaktis is Paramashiva. Paramashiva is the source of all the Shaktis. Paramashiva is the primordial divinity, reality, and he is the self-effulgent Swayam Prakasha, and he is omniscient and omnipotent. He is there all around us, and he is the one who manifests through us to manifest anything in this world, whether it is just a movement of our hand or it is the manifestation of these extraordinary Shaktis, or it is the creation of universes. Everything manifests from Paramashiva. Now, the truth about the Shaktis is that when the Jnana, the ultimate truths, is mapped into our consciousness, the Prajna, and when it manifests, it is called Prajnana, and this is the ultimate truth of how the powers are manifested. Now we'll be seeing the Shastra Pramana for the power of third eye. The power of third eye is not just the power to read a piece of paper that is there in front of us. It is the power that exists in the intra-organ, called the third eye, called the Agnya Chakra, and that is the organ from which all these powers manifest, whether it is body scanning, consciousness or matter, any power that happens from our third eye center. So the Shastra Pramana for the power of third eye is from the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, Sutra 34. The verse goes, Kapalantar manonyasa tishtan milita lochanaha kramena manaso dadyat lakshayet lakshyamuttamam. The translation goes, by fixing the mind on the inner space within the crown center and slowly with stability without any movement, and keeping the eyes in succession, pulling the eyes in succession to the third eye, one is able to see beyond this physical eyesight and is able to see the goal, the lakshyam, and he attains the space of oneness with Paramashiva. So this is the detailed instruction of how the power of third eye manifests. Now we'll be seeing the Apta Pramana, how our rishis, how the ancient history has shown this manifestation happening. In the beautiful scripture called the Bhagavad Gita, which is in the Mahabharata, when the historical event of the Kurukshetra happened, Bhagavan Shri Krishna revealed to Arjuna the beautiful scripture of the Bhagavad Gita. And in that Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Bhagavan Shri Krishna to show his Vishwarupa Darshana, his cosmic form. And at that time, Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna that with these physical eyes of yours, you cannot view this cosmic form of mine. So I initiate you into the third eye, into the divine vision of the third eye, and with those eyes you can view my cosmic form, the Vishwarupa Darshana. And after this initiation, Arjuna was able to view the cosmic form of Bhagavan Shri Krishna and gave a detailed explanation of the whole cosmic form in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now we'll see the Atma Pramana, what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism experienced when he had the experience of his third eye. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism says that the first experience that I was able to see everything around me, above me, the whole 360 degrees, 10 directions below me, everything I realized not only was I able to see, I was able to feel and experience all that around me. So the supreme pontiff of Hinduism was able to see beyond the physical eyesight that was there, and he was able to feel everything. He was able to feel the oneness with Paramashiva, which is the creation of this whole world.
Equally in both.
Now we'll be seeing the power of consciousness over matter, which manifests from the space of Paramashiva. Before that, we'll just quickly see the Pratyaksha Pramana for the power of third eye. What science has found about the third eye. So when the PET scan, a type of brain scan, was conducted on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself, they had found that there was an intense amount of frequencies which were being emitted from the frontal lobe of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So they had found that when the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was in a deep state of Samadhi or meditation, there was a high amount of frequency, which was a high amount of energy, which was being found exactly where the point of the third eye is. So this is the Pratyaksha Pramana, the empirical evidence for the power of third eye. Now we'll be seeing the Shastra Pramana for the power of consciousness over matter. The power of consciousness over matter is also in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, and it is in the Sutra 120, Dharana 95. Kvachid vastuni vinyasya shane drishtum nivartaye jnanam chitta sahitam devi shunya layo. Paramashiva says in this verse, by having fixed one's eyes on a particular object, vastu, one should slowly withdraw the gaze, the sight from that object, as well as slowly eliminate the knowledge and the thoughts and impressions of that object. Then, O Devi, one abides in Shunya, the state of all-inclusiveness and infinite oneness. Beautiful meaning of the Shastra Pramana of the power of consciousness over matter. Now, we'll be having a live demonstration of the power of consciousness over matter. So here, I'll be manifesting the power of consciousness over matter by placing my Atmalinga on my hand. My hand will be placed on a flat surface, and I'm going to be placing my Atmalinga on top of my hand. And when I connect with Paramashivam, we'll be having the beautiful darshan of Paramashiva manifesting the Atmalinga to stand. So just before we enter into the power, I'll be showing my hand also in a close-up camera so that all of us can see how the Atmalinga is standing and how in my hand there is no strings or any other thing which is attached. And we also can know that the Atmalinga is made of a crystalline material. So there cannot be any magnetic substance, magnetic material which is used to make the Atmalinga stand. And so now we have the close-up camera. So here you can see my hand. When there is no strings tied, there is no glue or anything, and we can also see the Atmalinga also. There is nothing tied to it, and as it is a crystalline material, there cannot be any magnet which can be used to make the Atmalinga stand. So now I'll be connecting with Paramashiva and chanting the Mahavakya, and when I do so, I request all the other viewers watching us live on all our other social media platforms to take this time to create your reality, because when we connect with this kind of space, when we manifest powers, we create a strong Vatavarana, we create a strong environment for all our desires to be manifested, because at that time we are in the highest frequency and the closest connection with Paramashiva. So any desire, any boon you want from Paramashiva, just start posting them in our chat and automatically you will see that these manifest. Because it is not us who manifest these powers. It is directly Paramashiva flowing through us which causes these powers to manifest. So now I'll be chanting the Mahavakya and all of you can also join along with me and chant the Mahavakya. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. 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 So beautifully, we saw how the Atmalinga rolled. Now, we have all seen the beautiful manifestation of the power of consciousness over matter, and now we'll be moving on to the next segments where we'll be learning more about various other sciences about our life, how to improve our life, and how to ultimately reach Paramashiva. So stay tuned. After a short break, we'll be back with you with various other programs and events on teaching you how to create Paramashiva in your life. Thank you, Nithyanandam.
A more intelligently connected world leads to a brighter future. An enlightened humanity leads to a better world. During the Paramashivam program, we help people to discover their superhuman possibilities and help them to find and achieve the true purpose of their birth by giving them the techniques, practices, and methodologies from the Vedagamas, the original source scriptures of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the ancient original Vedas and Agamas in all its glory, in a user-friendly way for the modern mind. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is transforming human beings into divine beings, reviving, initiating, and replicating the 463 powers from the Agamas revealed by Paramashiva. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not just giving solutions for every problem man faces, but is making them irrelevant to their lives by transforming human beings into divine beings.
Listen. Any argument presented by your mind, body, your present reality to establish you are not Paramashiva. You are not omniscient, omnipresent. Anything presented to prove you are not Paramashiva is illegitimate. Decide this. This is super determinism. Understand? Anything you declare as illegitimate will lose power over you, will die in few days, few minutes, maybe in few weeks, whatever few days it takes. It will not have power over you. Understand, this is the method for sudden enlightenment. This is the method for sudden enlightenment. It happens by the Shaktipada. Here Paramashiva is sitting to tell you all, you are Paramashiva, you are me, with Shaktipada and Shaktinipada.
The Dvitiya Vijnasa Krama is an extensive and thorough yoga sequence to prepare your body to receive the experience being given.
Yes, we're back. Beautifully, we saw the power manifestation demonstration done by Sri Paramashananda Maharaj, where he was able to make the Atmalinga stand in his hand with the grace and blessings of the Supreme Point of Hinduism. We are now going to be entering the next segment of today's program, which is understanding who is Ardhanareeshwara. What is the Ardhanareeshwara Murti? It is this Bhava Darshan which the Supreme Point of Hinduism is going to be gracing all of us today. Ardhanareeshwara Murti is the pure manifestation of the cosmic union of Paramashiva and Parashakti, the manifestation of Tantric enlightenment. Once, when Devi was meditating, inside her being, the feminine energy got awakened. The 10th day of the Kartikeya Brahmotsvam, Devi becomes part of Shiva, Ardhanareeshwara, and liberates the whole cosmos. Devi is the representative of the whole cosmos, of the whole universe. Whatever has expanded from him, from Devi, he just takes them all back and gives them the feeling, you are my part, reuniting, the reunion. So, all the lamps which has become different have now become one. Is Prakriti Devi. By evening, all of them come back, one with the Purusha. This is what Devi becoming Ardhanareeshwara, the Prakriti becoming Purusha, is the celebration. These are the direct words of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, explaining the significance of the Ardhanareeshwara Leela happening. We are now going to be watching a series of satsangs where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism directly expands on this topic of who is the Ardhanareeshwara Murti, its significance, and by meditating, having the darshan upon the Ardhanareeshwara Murti, what is the space of completion and superconscious awakening that can happen in us. Please stay tuned. We will now be entering into the satsang. You can all actually sit straight and be in the meditative space of listening. It is only when we are in the space of listening, the words of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism get imbibed into our systems. And from hearing, we move into the space of listening. So please take a few moments and sit straight and come to the restful awareness. Allow yourself to settle down and give your complete listening to Swamiji. Let us now get ready and watch this video.
If you see our deities, they will have two wives, almost all deities. Please don't think it's two women, two aspects of feminine energy. One, the aspect which gives the fulfillment, physical pleasure. The other aspect gives fulfillment emotionally as a mother. One aspect which gives fulfillment physically as a beloved. The other aspect which gives fulfillment emotionally as a mother. The very being, the very basic thing of the human consciousness, it can play both the roles. When you awaken feminine consciousness in you, you will see that you are radiating physical fulfillment and emotional fulfillment, which is enlightenment. Practically, which is enlightenment. I'll describe the Arunachala story. The story of Arunachala. The whole Arunachala story is story of women, story of feminine energy. The story says that Devi was meditating and inside her being, the feminine energy got awakened. Please understand, not masculine. Feminine energy got awakened. She became Ardhanareeshwara. The description exactly it says, in Devi, the feminine energy is awakened and she became Ardhanareeshwara. Means half male, half female. You will be surprised. See, in male, if female energy is awakened and the description says he became half male and half female, perfectly alright. You can understand. But the story says, in Devi, the feminine energy, the feminine Shakti is awakened and she became Ardhanareeshwara. Means, when a woman experiences fulfillment, she experiences her beloved aspect and mother aspect completely. The beloved aspect and mother aspect. Please understand. If you are just beloved, you will be materialistic, outgoing. If you are just mother, you will be introvert, caring, compassionate. But both the aspects awaken a new consciousness in you. I can say complete fulfillment. I think with this one example you will understand. All of you can understand. With this one example, all of you will be able to understand that mother and beloved dimension. If you are missing the mother dimension, naturally just a beloved dimension cannot fulfill you. If you are missing the beloved dimension, just the mother dimension cannot fulfill you. The body and emotion, both will have fulfillment only when you experience both the dimension. A person who can experience and express both dimension is Ardhanareeshwara. Please understand, Ardhanareeshwara does not mean just half male, half female. Ardhanareeshwara is the person who experience both dimension of feminine qualities. Both dimensions of feminine qualities. When a man becomes enlightened, he becomes a leader. When a woman becomes enlightened, she becomes mother and beloved. Ability to radiate both dimensions. So the Arunachala story describes Devi. She expressed her both dimensions. That is why she became Ardhanareeshwara. She experiences and radiates Ardhanareeshwara consciousness. Each one of you were carrying the feminine energy. Awakening that feminine energy is enlightenment. Please understand. The first introduction to Tantra I'll get the sutras and read the sutras to you guys. You will be surprised. First, introduction to Tantra. Shiva has spoken 64 Tantras. 64 Tantras and around 60,000 sutras. Please understand, I commented only on 112 sutras. But Shiva has spoken 60,000 sutras. The first introduction he tells, whoever listens, let you all become Devi. Only then you can understand this sutra, this techniques. He says very beautifully, he gives us a meditation technique. Even the brain setup, even the thinking, the body, physical body language, the mental setup, whatever you know as feminine consciousness, or women, meditate on that. Please understand. He says you can't actually completely understand the woman consciousness, even if you are a woman. Even if you think you are a woman. So the feminine consciousness, I have to use two different words. Feminine consciousness, women body. Women body has a more possibility for feminine consciousness. That does not mean just because you are in the women body, you experience or express feminine consciousness. When Shiva starts the Tantra, first thing he says, intensely meditate on the feminine consciousness. Whatever idea you have about the feminine consciousness, live. And Ramakrishna, he practiced this technique.
The word Tantra simply means technique, methodology. In Sanatana Hindu Dharma, all methodology for manifesting the state, space, powers and being of Paramashiva is called Tantra. That's it. Please understand. State, space, powers and being of Paramashiva, manifesting that is called Tantra. Any methodology adopted for that purpose is called Tantra. In course of time, it got associated with multiple traditions like Shakta, Bauddha, Samana. In multiple sampradayas, orders, traditions of Hinduism, it got identified, associated, started having different connotations, and then comes the anti-Hindu narratives, anti-Hindu forces, Hindu-phobic forces contains this word and boxes it inside gory sexual activities and orgies. Without any understandings and reality, I tell you, Tantra is the most anti-sex practice. In real tantric practice, whether you do it with your own being or you do it with beings outside, it just liberates you from everything felt as a need or urge. Understand? Food is not wrong, but urge pushing you to eat is wrong. Sex is not wrong, but the urge making you lose your balance and your integrity and pushing you to do the act is wrong. Understand? Anything which breaks your integrity is wrong, not the act. Eating is not wrong, but the urge pushing you to eat is wrong. And sex is not wrong. The urge which makes you lose your integrity for sex is wrong. Tantra works on completion, making you manifest the state, space, powers, and being of Paramashiva. Listen carefully. Multiple, various techniques to experience the state of Paramashiva, like unclutching, completion, to experience the space of Paramashiva, like integrity, authenticity, responsibility, enriching, causing, to experience the powers of Paramashiva, oneness, initiation, aushada, mani, mantra, aushada, to manifest the being of Paramashiva, diksha, ultimate initiation, communion, oneness with Guru, who is embodiment of Paramashiva, makes you manifest the being of Paramashiva. All these various levels, multiple techniques are adopted, methodologies are adopted. All of them are basically called as Tantra. Understand, Tantra is the most anti-sex tradition. If you believe, if you are told Tantra is the sexual tradition, you are cheated. If you think Tantra is sexual activity, you are thoroughly going to be cheated. Understand, it is most anti-sexual activity. It's highest anti-sex. Don't be cheated by the wrong introductions of the Tantra. It is all the urge, not on the action. The whole focus is on the urge, not on the act. The greatest tantric masters, Paramashiva and Parashakti, reveal the science of achieving the ultimate state, space, powers, and being of Paramashiva as Tantra. Very few are related to action. Most of them are related to urge. It is all about handling your being and making you manifest Paramashiva. I don't want to say Tantra is sannyas tradition, but I want to say Tantra is the way for ultimate sannyas, the Purana sannyas. It removes all the pain, anger, guilt, shame, everything associated to your body and makes you grounded. I tell you, it settles you with you first. First, you will have ultimate relationship with yourself. The kind of the feeling grounded you need to have. Never to have tears in your eyes can happen only by Tantra. When you are grounded, complete with all the emotions of body shaming, good, bad, right, wrong, everything need to be cleansed. All the toxic ideas inserted into your system, shame, guilt, about your body and how you look and how you feel and the ideas of sex, gender, everything, all the faltu ideas society has inserted into you need to be removed. You need to be detoxified from all that stupid ideas. That's the only way. That's the only way you will get grounded and become a real Rudraganya. Every man should become a Rudra and every woman should become Rudraganya. That is Tantra. Every man should become Paramashiva, every woman should become Parashakti. That is Tantra. Paramashivoham will give you precise understandings about Tantra. Deep understandings about Tantra constantly. You demanding yourself and behaving even with yourself as Paramashiva and manifesting the qualities and state, space, powers and being of Paramashiva continuously in your actions, in your life, in your thinking, in your emotions, everything. That is Tantra. That's all is Tantra. Understand? Life in all its possibility manifesting is Tantra. The Paramashiva in you and Parashakti in you becoming one, the communion and experiencing oneness is Tantra.
The missing link between the Shastra and Stotra is connected just by this Tantra. In Tantra, only one question, how to, that's all. Never why. Never why. It is always how. Throughout the Gita, if you see, Arjuna is putting so many questions. That itself shows he is not interested in the answer. When you put too many questions, be very clear, you are not interested in the answers. So many questions Arjuna is asking. And Krishna is replying. That is why Gita is a philosophy. Shastra. Gita-su, Upanishatsu, Sarva Vidyaya, Yoga Sastre. Shastra. Somebody asked me, Swamiji, why Gita has become so popular? Why not Vijnana Veda Tantra? He said, no, this is only for intelligent people. Naturally, intelligent people are very few. This is not for mass. This is not for intellectuals. This is for intelligence. People who are working in the field of intelligence. People who are intelligent. Only for them, this Tantra. Throughout this Tantra, only once Devi asks only one question, that's all. Devi puts only one question. That is not even a question. Just she awakens Shiva to deliver this, that's all. It's not even a question. Just she gives chance for Shiva to express himself over. But throughout Gita you can see so many questions again and again and again. If you want to become scientist, ask how. If you ask why, you will become a philosopher. If you ask how, you will become a scientist. Tantra answers only the how, never the why. Tantra answers how. It gives you the technique straight away. Tantra is not at all concerned about the truth. Please be very clear. It is not at all concerned about the truth. It is concerned about your experience of truth. It doesn't want to sell words. It doesn't want to sell empty words. Tantra is not a bookshop. It is not even a library. It is just laboratory. Shastras are libraries. Tantra is a laboratory. It is concerned only about the alchemy process. It wants you to reach it over. It never bothers about what is truth. It bothers how you can reach, how you can achieve. Tantra is too great truth. It is too much on a common mass, on a common man. Normal man cannot digest or tolerate.
Kailasa is the ecosystem I am manifesting. Where in this ecosystem, people will flower to their highest possibility. When people are feeling bored, couples are feeling bored, tired, that middle age boredom and tiredness hits them, they should be given the science of Tantra. They should try to find oneness, not just body alone, through the mind, the common goals, common emotions, commonly what they enjoy, art, science, different fields. And conscious spiritual powers, experience, enlightenment. If you find something which makes you experience oneness, you will never think of divorce. You know how to go to the depths of each one's consciousness and manifest oneness. You will not feel tired or bored with the other person. You know there's so much to explore. So much of possibility is there. This is the science of Tantra. This is the foundation of Tantra.
Shiva is embodiment of love. This very story, he gets married after the Manmata was burnt, shows the marriage was pure love, the pure bhakti, the pure anahata chakra is embodiment of anahata chakra. Understand? There is a beautiful description of Shiva and Parvati's relationship in Tantra. The description says the Shiva had the motherly attitude towards Devi. The relationship was described. I was surprised when I read those descriptions. It says Shiva felt Devi is his own mother. A strong motherly connection means what? The pure anahata. The pure anahata energy. When the pure anahata energy is experienced, you feel with the whole world. Either you feel that you are the mother of the whole world, or you feel the whole world is your mother. The description says, Shiva felt Devi is his own mother, and she felt the whole world is her child. If you are in the female body, the female psychology, when anahata opens, you will feel everybody is your child. When you are in the male body, when you are living with male psychology, if the anahata opens, you will feel everybody is your mother. That pure feeling connection. When the inner awakening happens in your anahata, if you are in the male body, you will feel the whole world is your mother. The whole world is mothering you, protecting you, carrying you. The existence loves you. Existence is fulfilling itself through you. Please understand, you are the expression of existence, strong, pure will. You are not an accident. You are conscious miracle of existence. When your anahata opens, I tell you even this one example you can understand. If you fall in love with somebody, suddenly, even if you fall in love with one person, suddenly you will see so much of fulfillment. And you will feel everything is so rosy, flowery, green. It's because of anahata. Love has the quality to give you the feeling that whole world cares for you. Whole world mothers you. Shiva's anahata is awakened anahata. That is why even with Parvati, with Uma, he has such a deep feeling of motherly love. What Ramakrishna and Sharada Devi exhibited, that strong feeling of motherly love, means awakened anahata.
Tantra is consciousness centered tradition. It is not body centered, mind centered, emotion centered. It is consciousness centered tradition. Adhara chakra, symbolic conscious representation of the sex energy, is described with the 4 petals, lotus. 4 petal lotus. The one petal represents autosex, means enjoying your own body. Like even eating tasty food comes under autosex. Eating tasty food up to masturbation, whole thing falls under autosex. Enjoying your own body. Enjoying your own gender, same sex. Third lotus petal is enjoying the opposite gender. The 4th lotus petal is enjoying the whole cosmos, whole universe, having union with this whole universe. That's the 4th petal. Listen. Ardhanareeshwara is the manifestation, represents all the 4 completion, fulfillment, the all 4 dimensions in you. When it manifests into the complete completion, you become Ardhanareeshwara. Ardhanareeshwara manifests in your body. I tell you. Most powerful sexual energy is radiated by the kids who are taught from young age to connect with Krishna or Muruga. Understand? in Hindu tradition, if you are born from Vaishnavite family, in the young age itself, you will automatically pick up Krishna as your beloved if you are in the female body, if you are in the male body as a friend. Whether you are a male or female, you will develop some kind of an attachment, feeling connection with Krishna from the young age. Same way, if you are from Shaivite family, you will develop the connection with Muruga, Subramanya. The kids, male or female, who develop this kind of a fantasy-centric, I'm using the word fantasy-centric, which is very low and in a way even not completely expressing what I want to express, but the English has only the fantasy word. I can say that visually having union with Krishna or Muruga, even intimate friendship, I have seen the kids growing up in a very traditional background, how they automatically assume, if you are from Vaishnavite family, automatically the kids assume that Krishna is your beloved or your friend. If you are from Shaivite family, Muruga is your beloved or friend. That is the way flowering of the first dimension of the auto sex happens. Understand? People many times ask this question: is masturbation right? Paramashivam answers this question in Tantra. In masturbation, you don't accumulate new muscle memory, but you accumulate biomemory. So, who you remember, with whom you connect, fantasize, imagine, visualize, and have enter into the masturbation act, you receive that person's biomemory. Listen carefully. The act masturbation itself is not looked from the prism of right or wrong in Tantra. It is looked at profit loss. If you connect with the higher conscious beings, even masturbation, you receive their biomemory. See, when you enter into a physical sexual act, you receive muscle memory, bioenergy, all the three from the other person. You should know, even male receive from female and female also receives from male. It is give and take. That is why if you have multiple partners, especially who are lower than your consciousness, you may have pleasure but not peace. You may have pleasure but not peace, because the exchange of muscle memory, bioenergy complicates and makes the inner space mess. In masturbation act, you don't receive muscle memory, but you receive biomemory. So with whom you visualize matters. That decides whether you are consciousness is going to raise to the cosmic union, or the consciousness is going to go down to a more lower existence, lower level existence. See, life is all about profit loss calculation, not right wrong dictations. Listen, Tantra does not look at life as vidhi nisheda. It looks at life as profit and loss. It just tells you what can profit you and what can bring loss, and leaves the decision to you.
Yes, beautifully the supreme quantum of Hinduism expand on what is the authentic science of Tantra and how it has been misrepresented for so many of years. The supreme quantum of Hinduism also gave clarity on how we can raise ourselves to become in union with the whole cosmos. Let us now look into the internalization exercise based on the teachings which Swamiji has given. We're now going to be looking at the body and the internal organs as well as the intra-organs, which is our consciousness. Information you received through your senses from the outer world and the actions you do, both of these travel into the internal organ and from there to intra-organ, and from there impacts the consciousness which is operating the system. Same way, any conscious decision will persistence you take moves from consciousness to your intra-organs, from intra-organs to your internal organs, and from your internal organs to your body. Understand, all the diseases travel from body to consciousness. All cures travel from consciousness to body. All the bad things from body to consciousness, and all the best things from consciousness to body. That's all is Tantra. These are the direct words of the Supreme Quantum of Hinduism, delivered to all of us on the 12th of January 2018. Information from senses travel from a body to the internal organ, to the intra-organ, and then to consciousness. When you take a conscious decision, the will persistence travels from your consciousness to your intra-organs, to your internal organs, and then to your body. Apply this formula in your pleasure, in your pain, in your eating, in your sex, in your seeing, in your music, in your dance, in your spiritual decisions, religious decisions, economical decisions, cultural decisions, social decisions, political decisions. Pen down your understandings. For example, your conscious decision to do yoga at 5 a.m. in the morning travels from your consciousness to your intra-organs, to your Agnya Chakra, the third eye, the seat of will, and from there moves to your internal organs and to your body. So we are now going to be taking the conscious decisions which we want to take in our life. Here we have another example. You see your favorite food in a hotel, restaurant, and your body sends a signal to the internal organs. Your stomach starts feeling hungry, saliva starts getting produced in your mouth. The signal travels to your intra-organs. Your root center, Mooladhara Chakra, gets triggered. You fantasize about eating the food, how tasty it would be if you eat the food, and sends a signal to consciousness to indulge in the act. In the same way, apply this formula in your pleasure, in your pain, in your eating, in your sex, in your seeing, in your music, in your dance, in your spiritual decisions, religious decisions, economical decisions, cultural decisions, social decisions, and political decisions. Pen down your understandings. This example is a very practical and very understandable example. The information which is being perceived by our senses in various different ways, through sight, through the hearing, through the touch, all these information which we are receiving through our senses is being sent to us from our internal organs to our intra organs, and then finally to our consciousness, where the decisions are made. All these decisions are reactionary decisions which we are taking based on the information which is being received by us. In the example which is beautifully given here, when you see a food and you know how it tastes, you start desiring that. The information is being perceived from your eyes, and from your eyes it goes to the rest of your internal organs. You start feeling hungry, the saliva starts getting segregated in your mouth, and then this information, this impulse pushes your consciousness to take this decision of indulging in the act of eating food. So the same way how throughout our life, throughout our day-to-day activities, so many of our decisions are being made based on the reactions which we perceive, which we are taking in from our senses. Let us now take the conscious decisions which we want to manifest in our life. As the example we have previously seen, in yoga, if we want to get up in the morning and do yoga, it is a conscious decision, conscious will to wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock every day. Taking that decision from your consciousness, it travels to your third eye center, the seat of the will persistence where the decisions are made. And from there, it gives the instruction to the rest of the body. So in each conscious decision you want to make for your life, pen those decisions down. From that, start thinking from this new understanding. How with these conscious decisions, which infra-organ it will be sent to, from where the rest of the body receives it. Please go ahead and get a pen and paper to sit down and start penning down all your understandings and all the conscious decisions you want to take from here on forth. Continue to do the exercise sincerely. Continue to do the exercise sincerely. Don't allow your mind to get distracted from any of the other thoughts which are running through your head. Allow yourself to be completely focused, completely centered, and be involved in the process. Let us use this opportunity, this space the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is giving us all, before we enter into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, to allow us to expand and allow the superconscious breakthrough to happen. When we do these processes, these internalization exercises, we open up the door in our being to allow the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to land in us when the Bhava Samadhi Darshan is happening. So please continue with the exercise, with the workshop. Very sincerely, please sit and write all the new cognitions, new thought currents, new understandings you want to carry now going forward, and map them from your consciousness to which intra-organ, from where the signals will be sent throughout the rest of the body. Please continue. Continue to sit and pen down all the conscious decisions you want to make in your life. Start penning down all those decisions, all the changes you wanted to implement in your life. Every morning when we all wake up, we all have those 5 or 6 things which we want to change in our life, which we want to accomplish that day. But by the end of the day, our mind wanders and life happens, and by the time we go to bed, we realize that none of the things which we wanted to accomplish have happened that day. This is a vicious cycle which we are constantly suffering from, day in and day out, not able to manifest the reality which we want to manifest for ourselves. Now, through this process and through the Ardhanareeshwara Bhava Samadhi Darshan, which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is going to be gracing us for in a short while, it can happen only when we allow ourselves to open up and identify the things which we want to manifest in our life. Once we have finished this internalization process, the next step is having the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Know that we are ready, we are ripened, and we have plowed the land to allow the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to plant the seeds, the initiation seed, in which this superconscious breakthrough is going to happen. Let us register for the Paramashivam program, which is going on right now currently. Every day, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is gracing all the devotees and disciples attending the program with various Bhava Samadhi Darshans, manifesting a new and different form of Paramashiva each day. So now that you have done this process and you have identified the conscious decisions which you want to take in your life, the next step is to have darshan and blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to manifest this in your life. For this, go over in the video on the bottom, there is a scroll running to visit the paramashivohome.org website. In the website, if you register yourself to a program, which is completely free of cost, registering yourself to the program enables you to have the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So please go ahead, and once you have completed and finished the internalization exercise, get ready to do the next step of this process, which is having the darshan of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. To receive the darshan and grace of Swamiji as the Ardhanareeshwara in the Bhava of Ardhanareeshwara, the link is being projected below, paramashivoham.org. You can visit the link and register for the Paramashivam program for not only today, but every single day from now onwards till February 9th. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is going to be delivering these Bhava Samadhi Darshans every single day. Not only that, from February 9th to February 28th, we have the Paramashivam program, which is going to take place. that is another life transformative, life changing opportunity. So, doing the internalization exercise alone is not enough. What we are doing right now is just plowing the land of our body to be ready to reap and receive the blessings of Swamiji. So with this, please complete the internalization exercise and head over to paramashivam.org to register yourself for the Paramashivam program. With this, we're going to be entering the next segment of today's program. We'll be back with you shortly after the break.
Since the beginning of time and space, Bhagwan Paramashiva, the all-powerful, all-pervasive, and all-knowing ultimate superconscious existence, revealed in the Vedas and Agamas, the source scriptures of Hinduism, the truths about himself and the manifested universe and its multidimensional and simultaneously existing dimensions and worlds, also known as parallel universes or vertical time zones.
त्रुट्यादि प्रत्ययस्यार्थ कालो माया समुद्भवः. The Kala Tattva, which gives rise to the knowledge of various time zones and parallel universes such as Truti and others, is originated by Ananteshwara from the impure Maya.
Bhagwan Paramashiva mentions that as we experience the various higher states of consciousness, we simultaneously experience the various time zones associated with them. We get transported to the parallel universes and experience the other dimensions of our own existence, of our own personality.
Listen, Subarloka is all about stable bliss, absolute health and stable bliss. Maharloka is all about the highest peak possibilities. Jana Loka is the place where you can exist in multiple bodies at a time. You experience oneness as the super reality. Tapaloka is that last struggle you go through. Sometimes you know you are Paramashiva, sometimes you just slip off, but again you say, I am Paramashiva. That space is the Tapoloka, an absolute surrender. Whether I am remembering, I am manifesting Paramashivatva, or I am deluded, I surrender both to Paramashiva. When you take that decision, you are lifted to Brahmaloka. You move to the Brahmaloka. The deep surrender lifts you to Brahmaloka. Then from there you move to Parandama, Vaikunta, and Kailasa, then Mahakailasa itself.
The key to unlock these parallel universes is hidden in the spine of the human
beings, only human beings on this planet Earth are empowered, hardwired, capable of migrating to parallel universe. Understand? Your spine is not only hardwired, capable of fuel, charged to lift you off to different parallel universes.
Sukritan manavo bhutva jnani chen mokshamapnuyat chaturashita-laksheshu sharireshu sharirinam namanushyam vina yatra tattvahanantu labhyate. Of the 8.4 million bodily forms, the human body is the most important, for it is this form in which one gets knowledge of the essence. This knowledge of essence cannot be attained in any other form other than human.
The possibility you have need to be told to you. And as animals have spine, because the majority of time they spend horizontally, the spine is not capable of getting fuel with a subtle fuel called ojas. Ojas need to be filled in your spine and the kundalini need to be ignited for you to reach parallel universe and different vertical time zone spaces.
When our state of consciousness is raised, we start experiencing these higher lokas, allowing the various possibilities and powers available in these universes to start expressing in our own human body.
Recently, scientists have discovered that the human body, particularly in the brain, naturally produces light in the form of biophotons, and that when our state of consciousness is lifted, the brain moves from producing a normal 20 photons of light per centimeter square per second to more than 100,000 photons of light per second. That shows us that as we start to experience higher and higher states of consciousness, we start to produce huge amount of light, which is directly proportional and translatable to the amount of possibilities and powers that start to manifest on this plane, as well as the freedom from pains and sufferings experienced by beings in lower states of consciousness.
These higher lokas gives you various possibilities, powers. For example, visualize you going to a different country where the electronic gadgets are easily, freely available. So naturally, everything you can gain through the electronic gadgets will be available to you freely. Same way, Kamadhenu, Karpaka Vriksha, Parijata, all these are like different gadgets, possibilities available in different lokas. Please understand, a permanent, irreversible power manifestation from the upper lokas is possible.
When powers start to express in the human body on the Bhuloka, our present plane, we reach a point of no return, where the cognitive shift which happens in us about who we are and what is the reality hidden behind this perceivable world frees us from the deluded ideas we have about ourselves and the life in the cosmos.
The moment your consciousness is empowered to access and to exist in the parallel universe, no force in this Bhuloka, planet Earth, can torture you, abuse you, suffocate you. It is irreversible permanent enlightenment, irreversible permanent empowerment.
In the source scriptures of Hinduism, the Vedas and Agamas, Bhagwan Paramashiva reveals about the importance of being initiated by a guru who is fit of giving initiation for us to raise into the various states of consciousness and experience the higher time zones.
The potency of Anavamala, which veils the innate and essential nature of the soul, is set into the decaying phase by this specific activity. Such specific activity is characteristically called Diksha. The intimate communion between the blessed one and the blessing one is very rare and difficult to occur.
The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagwan Nithyananda Paramashivam, is the 1008th incarnation of Paramashiva as per Hinduism, living amidst us today. Starting out at a young age and enduring years of intense penance, he persevered with the single-pointed vision of experiencing the ultimate oneness with Paramashiva, known as Paramadvaita. He traversed the length and breadth of India, initiated by his gurus into yoga, tantra, and other Eastern metaphysical sciences. After having many profound spiritual experiences, he finally received the ultimate experience of Paramashivoham, I am Paramashiva, from his guru Ardhanareeshwara, an incarnation of Paramashiva himself in the holy town of Tiruvannamalai in South India.
The brain is the body's most complex organ, containing more than 100 billion neurons, each of them in chemical and electrical conversation with up to 10,000 other neurons. Its sheer capacity to process the various happenings of life is astonishing. The scientific studies on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's brain remarkably shows that the complexity presents no difficulty for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in managing his brain's activity. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's capacity to control his brain is very fluid. He can easily shift his brain function and alter his brain waves, allowing the travel into various time zones possible and effortless. The results from the scientific studies conducted on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism showed that the human body and brain is able to choose to alter the body and to travel to other dimensions at will. The possibility for people to experience the healing capabilities as well as the higher states of consciousness is an event of immense benefit for humankind. The science of altering the rates and progression of many physical diseases, mental instabilities, and ultimately the superconscious breakthrough has now been made available and achievable for today's humanity.
The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is a bridge between the visible and the invisible. He is also a bridge between the age-old world of mysticism and the modern world of science and discovery. As brain research continues on a widespread basis, and as we appropriately bring the phenomena of mysticism into the realm of science for further study, we are taking strides on the path of physical and mental health as well as superconsciousness.
I'm going to empower, enlighten each and every one of you with the fuel and energy of the parallel universe. It can make you tireless forever. It can just kill the boredom once and for all in your life. It can just make you manifest third eye power right now. You may experience intense levitation right now. You may experience absolute flexibility of the body and complete detoxification, a complete healing right now. There can be multiple possibilities. I'll infuse this intense supernal effulgence DNA, Tejas, Ojas, Kundalini Shakti into your spine to consciously lift you to Mahakailasa.
A more intelligently connected world leads to a brighter future. An enlightened humanity leads to a better world. During the Paramashivam program, we help people to discover their superhuman possibilities and help them to find and achieve the true purpose of their birth by giving them the techniques, practices, and methodologies from the Vedagamas, the original source scriptures of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the ancient original Vedas and Agamas in all its glory, in a user-friendly way for the modern mind. Is transforming human beings into divine beings, reviving, initiating, and replicating the 463 powers from the Agamas revealed by Paramashiva. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not just giving solutions for every problem man faces, but is making them irrelevant to their lives by transforming human beings into divine beings.
Listen. Any argument presented by your mind, body, your present reality to establish you are not Paramashiva. You are not omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Anything presented to prove you are not Paramashiva is illegitimate. Decide this. This is super determinism. Understand? Anything you declare as illegitimate will lose power over you, will die in few days, few minutes, maybe in few weeks, whatever few days it takes. It will not have power over you. Understand, this is the method for sudden enlightenment. This is the method for sudden enlightenment. It happens by the Shaktipada. Here Paramashiva is sitting to tell you all, you are Paramashiva, you are me, with Shaktipada and Shaktinipada.
The Dvitiya Vijnasa Krama is an extensive and thorough yoga sequence to prepare your body to receive the experience being given by the Supreme Founder of Hinduism. Through the yoga, which is aligned as per the source scriptures laid down by Paramashiva and the Agamas, you break all the impossibility in your body and in turn break the very cognition of impossibility. The program leads you to go beyond your human frame and limiting human ideas, which prevents you from living your highest possibility.
I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment.
Again I tell you, I am not here to prove I am God, I am here to prove you are God.
Don't wait to become divine. Register now at paramashivoham.org. A more intelligently connected world.
You will become Paramashiva. Whatever I shared till now, condensing the whole thing and reviving it as experience, starting from completion, unclutching, power manifestation, the spaciousness, your mind, body, your present reality to establish you are not Paramashiva. You are not omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Anything presented to prove you are not Paramashiva is illegitimate. Decide this. This is super determinism. Understand? Anything you declare as illegitimate will lose power over you, will die in few days, few minutes, maybe in few weeks, whatever few days it takes. It will not have power over you. Understand, this is the method for sudden enlightenment. This is the method for sudden enlightenment. It happens by the Shaktipada. Here Paramashiva is sitting to tell you all, you are Paramashiva, you are me, with Shaktipada and Shaktinipada.
The Dvitiya Vijnasa Krama is an extensive and thorough yoga sequence to prepare your body to receive the experience being given by the Supreme Founder of Hinduism. Through the yoga, which is aligned as per the source scriptures laid down by Paramashiva and the Agamas, you break all the impossibility in your body and in turn break the very cognition of impossibility. The program leads you to go beyond your human frame and limiting human ideas, which prevents you from living your highest possibility.
I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment.
Again I tell you, I am not here to prove I am God, I am here to prove you are God.
Don't wait to become divine. Register now at paramashivoham.org.
Understand? Literally last 39 years from the age of 5, whatever Paramashiva manifested through teaching, speaking, writing, every way, condensing the whole thing and presenting it to you all as experientially in these 21 days through this Jnana Charya, Jnana Kriya, Jnana Yoga, Jnana Jnana is Mahaparamashivoham. Lifestyle for just Paramashiva. Rituals to be just Paramashiva. Yoga for just being Paramashiva. Jnana, just Paramashiva. This Mahaparamashivoham is like literally the ultimate journey in a most safest way. whatever I shared till now, condensing the whole thing and reviving it as experience, starting from completion, unclutching, power manifestation, the states of consciousness, and the planes, multiple planes, everything. You will become Paramashivam.
A more intelligently connected world leads to a brighter future. An enlightened humanity leads to a better world. During the Paramashivam program, we help people to discover their superhuman possibilities and help them to find and achieve the true purpose of their birth by giving them the techniques, practices, and methodologies from the Vedagamas, the original source scriptures of Hinduism. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is reviving the ancient original Vedas and Agamas in all its glory, in a user-friendly way for the modern mind. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is transforming human beings into divine beings, reviving, initiating, and replicating the 463 powers from the Agamas revealed by Paramashiva. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is not just giving solutions for every problem man faces, but is making them irrelevant to their lives by transforming human beings into divine beings.
Listen. Any argument presented by your mind, body, your present reality to establish you are not Paramashiva. You are not omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Anything presented to prove you are not Paramashiva is illegitimate. Decide this. This is super determinism. Understand? Anything you declare as illegitimate will lose power over you, will die in few days, few minutes, maybe in few weeks, whatever few days it takes. It will not have power over you. Understand? This is the method for sudden enlightenment. This is the method for sudden enlightenment. It happens by the Shaktipada. Here Paramashiva is sitting to tell you all, you are Paramashiva, you are me, with Shaktipada and Shaktinipada.
The Dvitiya Vijnasa Krama is an extensive and thorough yoga sequence to prepare your body to receive the experience being given by the Supreme Founder of Hinduism. Through the yoga, which is aligned as per the source scriptures laid down by Paramashiva and the Agamas, you break all the impossibility in your body and in turn break the very cognition of impossibility. The program leads you to go beyond your human frame and limiting human ideas, which prevents you from living your highest possibility.
I will reach you wherever you are, whichever corner of the world you may be. I will reach you with enlightenment.
Again I tell you, I am not here to prove I am God, I am here to prove you are God.
Don't wait to become divine. Register now at paramashivoham.org.
Understand? Literally last 39 years from the age of 5, whatever Paramashiva manifested through teaching, speaking, writing, every way, condensing the whole thing and presenting it to you all as experientially in these 21 days through this Jnana Charya, Jnana Kriya, Jnana Yoga, Jnana Jnana is Mahaparamashivoham. Lifestyle for just Paramashiva. Rituals to be just Paramashiva. Yoga for just being Paramashiva. Jnana
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtam Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadhilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavaditam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, I welcome all the viewers and participants around the world for this excellent Bhava Samadhi Darshans that all of us are experiencing and manifesting. Every day, the Supreme Founder of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam Swamiji, is manifesting the 64 manifestations of Paramashiva and gracing us all with this extraordinary experience of Bhava Samadhi Darshans. And today, before we get into the darshan, we're going to be having one of the very important contributions of Kailasa, bringing intellectual legitimacy to Hinduism. So it's going to be a very interactive session today, where we will be discussing various contributions of Kailasa in bringing the intellectual legitimacy. So before we get into the details of this show today, I would like to first briefly describe where do we stand today and why it is very important for us to understand the intellectual legitimacy of Hinduism. Sanskrit, it is one of the oldest available languages that we all know. And it has its dynamic abilities, whether it comes to metaphysical abilities or it comes to greatness of the structure that the language holds, or the formation and the grammar, and its ability to generate numerous meaningful knowledge systems. All of these components forms and makes Sanskrit as something which is extraordinary contribution of Hinduism to the world today. Even now, the modern scientist, whether it is quantum physicists or the mathematicians, every single dynamic field of modern physics and modern mathematics today find nuances in Sanskrit as something extraordinary, and that is something always pertain to research and development. And over the last 2 centuries, the ancient language has been ruthlessly persecuted, and in fact, used to its own advantage, misused and used for the at the hands of the anti-Hindu elements, in which that the whole context is distorted by mistranslation, and in fact, in many places, addition of the verses. In many cases, it is misrepresentation of the very language itself. So it is by large being abused by the Western Orientalists and also Dravidians, foreigners, who has literally persecuted the entire language and used this as a powerful weapon to attack the intellectual abilities or the intellectual foreground of Hinduism. And today's segment, we are going to see how Kailasa, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Swamiji, has immensely contributed in terms of bringing back the intellectual legitimacy of Hinduism, and how by attacking this intellectual component of Hinduism, literally you can see that how Hindus are suffering from this double genocide effect. In a way that you do not even know that you are getting persecuted, you start believing the lies that's been always spread by anti-Hindu elements. For us to be in this double-blind genocide effect, attacking the intellectual component of Hinduism is a very important tool at the hands of anti-Hindus. And today's segment, we're going to be seeing a lot more facts and a lot more details on how the whole intellectual terrorism had happened in Hinduism. And in today's segment, we will be also having some very interesting speakers who has immense experience in terms of learning Shastras or being involved in the various Hindu activist groups, where you can voice and talk about these persecution. And at the same time, they are immensely enriched by Swamiji's grace and Swamiji's contributions of Kailasa, and they're already part of Seven Pita. So we'll be having very interesting new points coming up from these speakers as well. And firstly, today's show will be focusing on 2 important components. First component is Manusmriti, which is the most abused scripture in the world, in fact. And number 2 is the social systems, Hindu social systems, which is Varnashrama Dharma. So how these 2 components, let's take examples of these 2, and we will see in detail how these are used as weapons by misquoting, misrepresentation, and mistranslation, how these import of Hindu social structure as well as Hindu constitution is being abused to make this double genocide of Hindus being really prevalent. Now, firstly, we'll talk about Manusmriti. Manusmriti is one of the most abused scripture in the world, and it forms the constitution of Kailasa also. Swamiji has told that Manusmriti and the Shastra will form the very basis of the constitution of Kailasa. And why Manusmriti is called as the most abused scripture in the world? I'm going to give you some of the examples. Manusmriti has about 100,000 verses originally. Now, what we have as Manusmriti is only 4,400 verses. You can see the huge gap in terms of how Manusmriti was presented originally by Manu and what we have today. So where did this gap and where are these 96,000 verses go? That is the question number one. Number two, the original context or the preamble of Manusmriti clearly talks about how the human beings are endowed and empowered to be treated as Paramashiva. That is the first and foremost preamble that Manusmriti is presenting to the world, where it says that you have right to be treated as Paramashiva. So the very preamble of Manusmriti defines the scripture itself, isn't it? Anytime when you go to a bookshop and you want to buy a book, you read the foreword, and the very foreword will actually give you an essence of what the book is going to talk about. This is what is the usual norm, isn't it? That's exactly how the Shastras also operated thousands of years before. So the very preamble of Manusmriti is clearly documenting that everybody has got right to be treated as Paramashiva, and the very nature of this entire social system is only to empower you towards realizing that you are Paramashiva, and that is what the ecosystem's primordial duty is. So when the preamble of Manusmriti is empowering the human beings to be treated as Paramashiva, number one, and it is also defining that the entire social structure, Hindu social structure, is focused towards empowering each person to that realization. Number three, it is also giving the idea that it is living enlightenment that is the purpose of life. So all these three things are very clearly stated in the preamble of Manusmriti, so which actually sets the tone of that entire scripture. Now, if the preamble of Manusmriti is defined in this way, then how come what we know as Manusmriti today, how it is completely different? We can actually see the contrast of how we perceive Manusmriti today as and what the preamble of Manusmriti is stated as. Today, we know Manusmriti as a scripture that actually discriminates women. We know Manusmriti as a scripture that is discriminating the lower caste people. We know Manusmriti as a scripture which denies every right that the woman has. In fact, it talks about women should be under the protection of man. From the birth till the death, she should always be under man. These are some of the violently mistranslated quotes of Manusmriti, which makes us feel that, is this for real? How come Hinduism is actually making people as slaves, especially women and the lower caste people? So we Hindus lost trust in Hindu social structure. We Hindus lost trust in the way women is treated in the society. We Hindus lost trust in the entire ecosystem that Manu had actually empowered the humanity with. That's because of this gross misrepresentation and gross mistranslation that has occurred over the last 2 centuries, which led to this destruction of the entire intellectual understanding about Hinduism. The very preamble of Manusmriti is empowering each and every human being as Paramashiva, while what we have today as the mistranslated text is completely distorted. In fact, it gives rise to a hate speech against the very sacred scripture itself. So this is how the anti-Hindu elements used every single component of Hinduism, whatever is actually strengthening, whatever is used to strengthen the ecosystems, these components were picked and chosen, and in fact used, misused, misrepresented, and mistranslated to give that hate speech, to give that double blind genocide effect in all the Hindus. So now we have, now I'm going to request all the viewers out there, you can post your comments. You can post your comments in the YouTube chat. What do you feel about this very fact that how Manusmriti is empty and how it is being treated and misused today? How do you all feel about it? Because the very facts, if you just take the facts of it, you can see how both are extreme corners. But what is presented to today's Hindus is something very, very different, which makes us feel that we have been cheated for last few centuries. without even giving the real understanding of what our Shastras talk about. So I request all the viewers and participants today, you can post your feedback, your comments, and how do you feel about this in the Facebook group. And all the YouTube viewers, you can actually post that in the YouTube chat. And requesting everybody to start posting this entire intellectual terrorism that is happening to Hinduism today. So every view of yours really matters. Please understand, if you are part of Kailasa, if you're already part of Swamiji's programs, if you're already a disciple of Swamiji, then you are a Hindu activist. You are the true Hindu activist. Your voice really matters. Your view about what is happening to us today really matters. So I request everybody who's listening to the session, who's listening to the program, to please post your views. What do you really feel about it? Just to know the fact that one of the most abused scripture is actually one of the most misrepresented scripture in the world. It is actually empowering all of us to become Paramashiva, to be Paramashiva, to realize ourselves. The mistranslation and misrepresentation makes it look like it is actually discriminating every single human being out there in terms of caste, in terms of gender and whatnot. So this gross injustice that is being incurred to our scriptures, what do you all feel? And your view really matters here. So I request everybody to take few minutes to post your understandings and whatever you feel, please post that in the chat. Sorry, not in the chat, in the FB group. So you can see there is a QR code that's being flashed on the screen. So you can scan the QR code and it directly leads you to FB group. And in the FB group, you can post your feedback and your thoughts. Right. So while we are, waiting for all the participants out there to post your comments and feedback, we will now get into the speakers today. So the first speaker who we have today is Shantidas Ayya, and so I welcome Shantidas Ayya to the show today. Nithyananda Ayya. So Shantidas Ayya is working in US, and he has got immense interest and passion towards Hindu activism. He's been participating in several activities in this, and he's also contributed a lot towards collecting various scriptures and various scriptures of Hinduism. And he's one of the 70 Pita Yajmans of Kailasa. So it's my pleasure to welcome Shantidas Ayya to the show today.
Thank you. Nithyananda.
Great. Thank you so much, Ayya, for joining the show today. And I would really like to hear from you, your first-hand ideas on the topic that we are discussing today, which is intellectual terrorism that's been incurred by the anti-Hindu elements for the last 2 centuries, and how Swamiji is bringing the intellectual legitimacy to Hinduism.
Yes. So we need to reflect a little bit in terms so that we better understand intellectual terrorism and its basis. So if we look at our history, we were colonized. In fact, today we are still colonized mentally, if not like politically. Politically, maybe we got maybe we have some political freedom, but in the form of a democratic setup, but still we are intellectually colonized for more than 1,000 years. And if we look at the genesis of the colonization process, how it started, and then maybe what are the important important points in the history. One of the key points in the history that was the caste system that was introduced by British through. And if you look at it, in like 1870, they passed Criminal Tribals Act. And they passed that Criminal Tribals Act after 1857, the very first revolution where practically every, which was, it started with the few soldiers in the British Army, few Indian soldiers with the British Army, but it was fueled by a specific section of the society who were the landlords and the agriculture, mostly into the agriculture. Okay. Sure. That when after the 1857 mutiny, it's called Sepoy Mutiny mostly, but it's a revolution that happened where a common people, like the landlords, then the people, those who are doing farming, they participated in this 1857 mutiny. So British took an oath saying that, okay, we will destroy the society to the point that it can never come back. So they passed a law called Criminals Tribal Act. So if you look at Criminals Tribal Act, what it is essentially by a certain, they are able to group a specific set of community are by birth criminals. So what it means is that they do not have any rights in the society. So essentially, they categorized a certain section of the community are slaves. So they have no right. Essentially, if you look at untouchability today, it's essentially that section of the society.
Actually, it's a very important Saya is bringing to the show today. Invariably, through Macaulay education, all the Indians and Hindus are educated that it is Manu Shastra which has brought this very idea of slavery in the social structure, whether it is in terms of Sudras do not have right to education, Shudras cannot enter into temples, and what amount of lies and hate speech is being spread against Manu Shastra in today's Macaulay's textbooks and everywhere. But it is actually through this criminal, sorry, what is the act, Aya?
Criminal Tribes Act.
Yes, the Criminal Tribes Act. Criminal Tribes Act of 1890. According to this act, certain sections of the society were termed as criminals by birth. Can you believe this? This is actually introduced in our social structure. So what we are facing as impact of untouchability, impact of slavery, it is not because of Manu Shastra, it is actually because of anti-Hindu elements or the invaders who have spread this poison of Criminal Tribes Act, which by very birth itself calls people as slaves, and they do not have rights in the sections of society. So this level of atrocity has been incurred to us in the society over the last 2 centuries.
Yes. And if you look at the criminal tribes or the groups that were categorized, that India had a princely state, about 500 princes or even more than that. A large section of that princely state came from the community that was declared as Criminal Tribes Act. If a large person, like the princes, people may not know, the Ramakrishna Paramahansa's, the queen is from that caste. The queen who established the temples, 7 temples, built 7 temples. She is from the criminals, under the Criminal
Tribe Act.
Yeah, that is what she is from. So, in fact, the large percentage, more than about 70% of the princes, the kingdoms, belong to that specific caste. So, if you look at like how in India during those time, in Hinduism, usually you do not give capital punishment. Capital punishment is very, very discouraged. So the closest form of capital punishment that you give is outcasting. So outcasting is essentially equivalent to you basically outcast them, and it was essentially this section of the people were outcasted from the society. So nobody can. They were untouchable. In fact, it was mostly like slaves in USA, the way the British or the whites brought in slavery into USA. The same thing happened there. Though they had no rights, they had completely separated from the society. They had a kind of they cannot even go to certain areas. As soon as they go, they'll be prosecuted. They'll be put behind bars and things like that. So if you look at it, the Dalits, today's Dalits or any communities that we talk about essentially comes from that group. And again, the second thing they did is that they tried to group the Varna and Jati into 4 different caste, hierarchical caste, which was not there. In fact, the very first time they introduced this, people fought about saying that I do not belong to this because it doesn't make any sense to me, because so essentially every community will have different, like, let's say that they do it based on some specific formula. Nobody could fit into that formula, so there was so much of chaos around it. So they force fitted that and they tied that into the specific government schemes so that it is enforced in every aspect of the society. That's what they did. That's the very first thing they did.
Wow.
And first forward, if you look at it, if you look at Hinduism, what again, I'm trying to simplify it for the purpose of our discussion here. We are saying that everybody is an infinite expression of cosmos. Everybody is essentially infinity, right? So if we think in that terms, if we contemplate on that specific aspect of Hinduism, essentially you are talking about an infinite number of infinite possibilities. That is what is Hinduism is basically. The very first statement is you are divine and you are an infinite possible of the divine, one of the infinite possible of the divine. Now, to comprehend that level, you need to have those nuances, a test for those nuances. You need to have, you have to be mentally developed. Your consciousness has to be developed to that level to really comprehend, enjoy, and celebrate it. Okay. So if you look at the industrial revolution or the revolutions that happened in last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, it tried to simplify everything. So basically, this will be considered as a chaos. Okay, this infinite of infinite will be considered as a chaos. So
that's because they could not comprehend in their binary logic.
Yes.
We don't understand consciousness. We don't understand multidimensional logic, which is exactly what Swamiji is reviving.
Yes.
Like through all these programs and initiatives. And Satsang, Swamiji is bringing back that very mental setup of Hindus, which can think beyond this binary. See, one of the things that Swamiji recently shared was there is nothing called box is a hoax, and growth is always. Swamiji shared that box is a hoax. Growth is never linear. It is only vertical, and growth is explosion and positive explosion. So this is the very mental setup of Hindus, and that is exactly what Swamiji is reviving through various programs, initiatives, and initiations. Again and again, bringing us that legitimacy of Hinduism, intellectual legitimacy of Hinduism.
Yes, ma. So essentially,
I would like to just add, welcome Dr. Murali also to this panel now, because he's like very interested to share his thoughts on the same topic that you were sharing about the Criminal Tribes Act. So I thought, maybe this is the best time to add Dr. Murali also to this show. Nithyananda Murali, yeah. So, dear viewers, we have Dr. Murali joining us in this panel now. So he's a Hindu he used to be a Hindu activist, and now he's a real Hindu activist. Been writing many articles about the Hindu persecution and how Hinduism is destroyed in society today in various portals and various online avenues. And he's also a Sarvangapita manifested. And he has joined in the session today, and he has lots of things to share about the topic that we are discussing now.
Nithyananda.
Nithyananda, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this used to be and still is one of my a topic of great interest, because I've been writing about this for a very long time, actually, and actually. So recently, you would have heard about this portal called ChatGPT, which is an artificial intelligence search engine. Which actually gives answers for questions you put across including writing code for you and things like that. It does a lot of fascinating things. It's a great tool, but it also exposes the outright bias of the Western academia and how the translation has been deliberately misdone. For example, you can basically ask questions to it and it would answer. So I asked about caste and Manusmriti, and which was the verse which actually says that caste is by and Varna is by birth. And so it gave the verse, it quoted the word it as, this gave a translation which says it was by birth. So I asked, like, which word is that? And I looked at the verse it used, because there are 50 different versions of Manusmriti. So the specific version it gave, I don't know where it came from. So it gave a specific word which says Varnashu and Jatishu are the two words which says by birth. So then I asked ChatGPT itself, so okay, give me the grammatical breakdown of the word and what it means. So it actually did the translation of breaking down the words, and he said, like, jati plus shu and varna plus shu is, like, I asked it to give the grammatical breakup, and he said, like, jati shu is basically the software itself said that the artificial intelligence software itself said that it is shu is the pluralizing suffix to that word of jati and varna. So it gave that grammatical breakup as well. So, and then I asked, like, then why? I mean, it is only pluralizing. So there is no word which says, like, exactly by birth, according to your own grammatical interpretation. So how are you saying that it is actually? I have taken screenshots of it actually as well. So because I wanted to write an article on that, showing that how because this artificial intelligence has been trained by the translations and stuff published by Western academia. So basically, it's not self-intelligence actually. So it's so it is basically taking all these things and then regurgitating that as if as a human or another human, like some intelligence is talking to you. And it said, like, I mean, this is the translation that has been given by scholars. So I'm just giving the same interpretation. So that is what it is. Basically exposed how Western academia and how they are doing this kind of mistranslation. I've seen similar things across the thing. In fact, they will drop words. Here, they've added words which didn't exist in the original verse in the translation bit. I mean, you can even remotely say that. I mean, shu isn't suffix to make the word. Say, for example, instead of saying jati, you want to say jatis in English, right? So it's jati shu or varna shu. In fact, many of this Manusmriti doesn't even have the word versions available. There doesn't even have the word jati at all anywhere. So only the word that exists is varna. Again, another thing is, like, it explicitly says from chapter 9, where they talk, where Manu talks about all these even classifications and what are the rules that has to be followed between the interaction between the different groups, comes from chapter 9, which starts explicitly by saying that these are the rules for the periods of exigencies, which means periods of emergencies. And in fact, Kane, who's one of the experts in Dharma Shastra, in all translations, in almost all versions of Manusmriti, this is there explicitly from chapter 9. But including our own people, Kane is an Indian Sanskritam expert and expert in Dharma Shastra, who wrote the translation, multi-volume, 13 volumes, I think, of all the different Dharma Shastras. They have, like, basically ignored this preamble for the chapter starting from 9, and then started talking about as if they were part of the regular rules as well. Even though, I mean, those rules themselves aren't discriminatory, actually, as it is being portrayed. They have mistranslations and things like that. So sadly, that is the state of affairs, because we just wanted to believe the Western, the British colonial and the Christian missionary narrative and translation. Even those great Sanskritam experts who did a genuine translation, they themselves fell for it because they missed literal phrases and preambles. Even though they wrote it down in the translation, they put that line, and after that they will ignore what, I mean, those line actually mean.
That is the impact of the double genocide that has incurred to the
brainwash. Yes,
we are totally brainwashed. Even though we know the language, even though we know the translation, even though we translate it rightly, but we forget it because we are so accustomed to the reality that, okay, Manu Shastra means it is going to discriminate women, it is going to discriminate Shudras. These are all the ideas that has been imprinted in our brains. So even the Sanskrit scholars are not able to see through this whole thing, and they just fall prey for this.
Yes. And also, I'll give you an example. Beautifully brought up the topic of Criminal Tribes Act. In fact, the whole terminology now we use, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, originated with the Criminal Tribes Act, where they had an appendix, a schedule to the statute, the law, which listed the tribes and the castes. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, you will know, Tamil Nadu, the caste called the Parayar community. The Parayar community, according to British own written records, which was republished by Dharampal in the 1980s, shows that Parayars, and still are, many people in many of the villages still know that only the Talayari, Talayari literally means the village chief, can only be from the Parayar community. So if the village chief can only be from the Parayar community, how can they become the untouchable? So what was the traditional job of the Talayari was to guard the village. You would have also heard of the caste Padayachi. Padai means army. So Padayachi are the people who went and worked in the army. So Talayari are the people who are the internal security, the police department. It's like the commissioners and deputy commissioners and assistant commissioners we have now in the modern system. In fact, that job of being the police of the community in the village was taken away from them by the British using the Madras Police Act, which is the act which is followed all across India till date for the system of the Indian police service. So it's so ridiculous. And then they were actually classified as criminal tribes under the Criminal Tribes Act. The reason being that because they were the people after the Padayachi community, because they were in the army. Once the army was taken over by the British, even while the Indian rulers were there, by deceit, it was the people who would oppose the British interference into the local administration because they were the police, they are the Talayaris. So they were targeted by British and made into untouchable. And when the Criminal Tribes Act came into existence, obviously people started associating with themselves because anybody who associates with the criminal will be classified as criminal. Even now the police, right? If you have somebody in your family who had done something, a crime, they will treat the whole family as of being criminal, and then they will harass you and things like that. If your neighbor is so, if you talk to them, then they will come and question you. Oh, what is the connection between you and things like that? Especially if those people are from the lower middle class and the economically downtrodden classes. So this is a tactic they still use. So people force themselves to be dissociated because out of fear. And then that practice became untouchability later on. So this was, there is another evidence for it. In fact, there is something called...
I would like to jump in here, Dr. Mullier. We have Kailasa's Bhaktivasya Ma, who's sharing that I find comfort in Manusmriti. The laws of Manu, Kailasa governing within these laws are of highest cosmic laws, of highest cosmic order. Time-tested law system that runs and governs with highest cognitions is too profound. This system blesses all with one specific thing that brings huge comfort, is that everyone should be treated as Paramashiva. Actually, this is the first preamble, very first introduction that Swamiji gives in Kailasa's jurisprudence, where everybody is Paramashiva and everybody holds right to be treated as Paramashiva. So that is how Kailasa's preamble is written by Swamiji. And Ma Bhaktivasya shares that I am grateful for the system that is complete and has no ulterior motives. It is complete and treats everyone from the space of completion. And we have Wai Chun Yup, who says that I have known my master for 8 months. In these 8 months, I have witnessed many miracles. My master has asked me to demonstrate what compassion and love is. Every perfection touched my soul, and I'm completely moved and respected. Master is too great. He is the future of mankind. So beautiful. In the lines of what Murali was sharing, I just would like to add a couple of things. Aya, you were talking about how this Parayars, people from the south, I'm sure there's so much of revolution happened in this word called Parayar. And security guards, they come from a very respectable positions.
Not security, they're like the police. they conducted the panchayat as well. The Talayari means the head.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Yeah.
the chiefs. So we can see to what level the society is brainwashed. And now what Swamiji is doing is he is reviving the whole social system of Hindus had. And in fact, the super conscious mutation, the Paramashivam program, Paramashivam program, all these programs that Swamiji is conducting and giving Bhava Samadhi Darshans of 64 manifestations of Paramashiva, everything is to reactivate the DNA, awaken the DNA, which holds these specific genetic codes of your Gotra. Because right now we are in a space and place where we don't know our roots. We are in such Hindus are experiencing such identity crisis. We don't even know that we have access to huge information just by awakening our Gotras. Because our social systems are so much has undergone so much of persecution, we don't know the values and we don't know the immense potential that exists in these Gotras, which is what Swamiji is awakening through all these initiations and superconscious mutation processes. So that this is one more unique contribution of Swamiji in awakening the Gotras and the potential that each human being holds through awakening of these genetic codes that exist in Gotras. So one other thing what Mulyaya was sharing was when through this artificial intelligence tool, in the original Manusmriti, there exists no word called jati. It is all about varna. Jati is an introduced term in the medieval period. So, but it is so prevalent in all these mistranslated and misquoted texts that Manu Shastra is actually talking about jati. Manu never spoke about jati, in fact. So that is one of the other important things which I wanted to highlight in what Dr. Mulyaya was sharing. So, Shantidas Iyer, do you want to add anything to what we're discussing here right now?
No, actually, Mulyaya brought up the points which can be validated and verified today, right? And it's very clearly, it's in a very simple terms. But what has happened is right now, wokeism is very prevalent in the institutions. So equal opportunity versus equal outcome, right? So if we look at our Varna system, so basically the very foundation of Hinduism is to respect, not to respect, to realize that you are infinity possible and you are a distinct possibility than the person Y, right? To celebrate that, you need to have a higher level of intellectual understanding of your own existence or the existence of the society and everything. Now, over a period of time, as industrial revolution and everything started, it dumbed down the entire system. Right now, if you look at it, because it will be considered as a chaos in a industrial world, this specific kind of society will be considered as a very chaotic society because they do not know how to manage infinite possibilities. It will be considered as a very chaotic. So what they do is they try to dumb down everything in a very simple terms. So that way people's cognition do not go beyond those dumbed down things. Like, for example, Democrat, Republicans. Oh, person A is a Democrat, person B is a Republican. At the most, you will have a centrist. But that is the dumb down to the point that it becomes easily digestible to the individual, to be communicated to the individual, but still you will be in the control of the narrative. Those who are generating those narratives, and based on that, they are doing their vested interest. And the same thing, if you look at today in the academia, what is happening is you have wokeism is very prevalent, which basically gives prevalence to equal outcome versus equal opportunity. So if you look at in a Hindu system, everything was based around giving equal opportunity to achieve the enlightenment at the end of the day, where, however, at the same time, optimizing your ability to produce everything, to produce and give back to the society in your context, right? So in case of equal outcome, what they will do is everything will be considered as your right, as well as it will be considered as, like, let's say that if you look at today, the society is divided into 3 different categories as far as academia is concerned: oppressor, oppressed, and another group who defines who will be categorized as oppressor or oppressed. The 3 different categories, and all the academia studies is defined along those 3 lines. Okay, so if you look at any civilization, they will look at the civilization only in those three lenses. Okay, all the paradigms, all the paradigms, theories, and everything has to be looked into in these three lenses. So that doesn't leave Hinduism or Hindu constructs in it means if that is the standard on which the civilization, enlightenment civilization is being analyzed and researched and presented back to the society, what we'll get exactly the same view that what is prevalent today in the society today. And it is being accelerated through different means. It is being propagated through different means. And whereas if you look at Hinduism, those three constructs do not fit. Neither we have oppressor, nor we consider us oppressed, nor we have a set of entitled people who are defining which oppressor versus oppressed. It's, if you look at in the Hindu society, it's a Shraddha-based society. I have certain Shraddhas. Based on that, I give somebody a certain level of respect and reverence. It's a reverence-based education system. I give reverence, and in the process of getting reverence, certain changes that happens in me, and I get I enjoy that entire process and get closer to the process, the state of enlightenment. But that specific construct cannot be understood, analyzed, and reflected back to the society if you are analyzing it from a construct of oppressor, oppressed, and entitlement. It cannot be. And that's where we are at today.
Yes, absolutely. And how do you see Swamiji's contribution over the last 30 years is deeply influencing the Hindu youth in understanding the real intellectual wealth that Hinduism holds?
Yes, ma. So basically, if you look at, if I understand Swamiji, it means it will be too small for me to understand. But if you look at Swamiji's vision is to revive Hinduism as per Hinduism, not through authentically revive Hinduism as per Hinduism, right? So the very first bold statement, Swamiji, nobody has made so far. Manusmriti is part of Kailasa's constitution. What does it tell? That itself tells to the Hindu youth who wants to get. Oh yeah, initially he'll be confused. Initially he will say that this is some, but as he gets deeper and deeper, and the interest that he generates, he will start looking at what is Manusmriti, and which is essentially, then he will come to the same realization. He's basically taking the intellectual context from a Hindu context and presenting it to the masses so that they truly can understand, digest, and see its value for themselves for themselves, as well as for the society, as well as to truly understand the purpose of life. And he's doing that in every single sense. Like, for example, he has spoken extensively about Varna and Jati. Extensively. It means he has written articles on it. It means he himself has written, I think, 1 or 2 articles, or we have transcribed few of his satsangs as articles that I have read in the past. And if you look at it, how he eloquently talked about Varna and Jati in one of the articles that I had read earlier, he said that there is no capital difference between a Brahmin teaching something and someone else. Let's say that somebody is let's say that the Brahmin's teaching from a capitalistic point of view has no greater value than somebody producing grain. Like so there is at that level quality. Okay, because that thought current is not present for a Hindu point of view, that Brahmin's teaching is much more capital value than somebody producing grain. But if you look at today's society, the knowledge, let's say that somebody is doing something in the computers, it has been given a lot more value in the sense that he can earn more. It is given a lot more value than somebody producing grain. So, but that specific dynamics is missing completely from the Hindu, from a Hindu Varna system point of view, because that specific cognition is missing, because that is how it is not set up. So nobody is supposed to should think that, okay, just because in the process of Brahmins producing knowledge, he will have a much higher status in the society or lower status in the society. There is no such ideas that is that we the Hindus are should cognize. Basically, there is no such concepts that, okay, just because he is teaching, he will have a higher values, he needs to get given more money. There is no capital difference between these two groups. They have more or less same value as far as the society is concerned.
It's a fantastic point that you brought out, because I'm in the financial sector now. So this is one of my favorite topics, economics. And Swamiji talks about Sadashiva's economics and economics in the Agama. So there is, if you look at it, for example, the current system, the entire system is designed against that. For example, say somebody in agriculture will take, say, 3 months to produce $1,000 worth of goods, because he's at the mercy of nature and everything, and it takes time in agriculture. A computer programmer will make the same $1,000 in a month, and somebody in Wall Street will do it, say, in 1 day. So its efficiency is very high. See, the different industries have different efficiencies. So using the same unit of economics, currency, that is, in all these fields, is to actually enslave the agriculturist and destroy it. So because, and so that is why in Agama Swamiji says, essential things like food produce, agricultural produce, and education and healthcare things is all by banter system, or it is taken care of by the community. For example, those days, if you look at it, the Vaidya, that is the community, the village, the doctor, would actually have, like Swamiji has mentioned this, like will have a share coming to them from the entire portion of the entire village agricultural produce for whatever that family and he needs to survive. So he will be taken care of. So he will always take care of the village's health instead of taking care of them once they fall ill, so that it produces income for him, right? So, and there is no currency there at all. So they will not be running behind currencies. Now, anybody from all the way up to somebody who works as a laborer, to all the way somebody who's on Wall Street, is running after the same currency. That is why everybody is running after investment, share market, stock market, mutual funds, and things like that. So basically what they have done is, the economic system in the West is designed in a way that it makes people run after currency. Otherwise, their whole life and their retirement is insecure. So constantly people are made feel insecure. So, and also then they have this kind of dividing concept, binary concept, like Republican, Democrat. So constantly people fight at all the level, from the level of economics to the level of politics. So they are never at peace, so that you can divide and rule and you can enslave them. So this entire system from politics to economics is set up in a way to divide people, to make them run after basic existential security, so that you can keep them enslaved and keep them, dominate them and keep them divided. So they will fight amongst themselves. Like, for example, yesterday Swamiji talked about how Tamil people have been made to fight amongst themselves, because by putting them into two different camps, one for the container, which is the language, and another for the content, which is for the culture and civilization. And these two people are fighting. We are fighting amongst ourselves. I'm from a Tamil community. We are fighting amongst ourselves and we are killing ourselves. So in the US, it's even worse. Democrats and the left and right, the left side of your body and the right side of your body is like literally cutting yourself off. I can't even go and look at the comments on a financial website like investing.com. All the time, Democrats and Republicans are literally killing each other off verbally. I really avoid going below. I stopped reading regular news and I never go to regular news sites or anything. Even financial sites, you cannot look at them. Investing.com, what is that for, there for Democrats and Republicans to come and fight? And they like literally kill each other,
Actually, it's a